And now, our feature presentation.
He taught salvation, proper foods to buy, and proper preparation, and clean living. The messenger was arrested May 8, 1942 in Washington, D.C., was bonded on $5,000 bail money, which was brought to Washington by his wife, Sister Clara Muhammad. The messenger returned to Chicago. On the 18th of September, as the messenger was teaching the theology of time, he told the Muslims to expect some unfortunate events to happen affecting them, but to hold fast to Islam. On September 20th, 1942, the FBI agents arrived at the temple before the meeting and arrested approximately 100 men of the Fruit of Islam. The messenger was arrested at his home at 6026 South Vernon Avenue. Here was a peaceful man, sentenced and convicted along with his followers all over the country for not taking up arms. Serving in Milan, Michigan at the Federal Correction Prison along with his son Emmanuel and other of his followers, among them who were Brother Lester. Brother Lambers, tell us, when did you first accept Islam?
1933.
Brother Lambers, tell us about the arrest incident of the Muslims in 1942 at the temple.
September 20, 1942, 104 East 51st Street. One Sunday morning, we went to a meeting, and the FBI had things broke in the door, and everyone came in to arrest them and put them in jail. And we got sentenced by jury bond. We was sent to Milan, Michigan, and then January 25th, 1945, we were released.
What were you arrested for?
Arrested for selective service.
For not going to the army?
Not going to the army.
Life in the prison was with the messenger. The first 4 months in prison was rather hard on us because the prison authority didn't understand us. But after we were there for 4 months, then they began to understand us and began to relinquish some of their restriction on us. We were able to move around in the prison freely without any hindrance. Now, the food in the prison wasn't good because we being Muslim, we could not eat any kind of food. Most of the food that was cooked there in prison was cooked with pork, and this is forbidden to be eaten by a Muslim. So our life there in prison was good after we were there for about 6 months. Then the things began to get better for us there.
While I was in Milan, Michigan, the federal institution, I become to be one of the first trustees. And I taken care of the warden's little grandson. The Holy Apostle had a special assignment from us, and that was in the officer quarters. So when I get off early, I would go by and help him get through early so he can come in and teach the brothers in the evening. And he taught me how to pray. While I was in there, I thought I knew when I first went. But after I got with him, helping him get through, he blessed me with teaching me a special prayer for him. I have a special prayer that he taught me special for him alone. And therefore, our first time being there, when coming out, Officer Whitehead, before we getting ready to leave, he said to me, coming with the Holy Apostle, he said, 9740, you're glad you're going home now, aren't you? I told him, no, sir, Mr. Whitehead, I'd rather for the Holy Apostle go and I stay here.
Messenger Muhammad was sent to Milan, Michigan, to the federal institution there. Most of those brothers were sent up to Sandstone, Minnesota, a correctional institution in Sandstone, Minnesota.
What was a typical day for the followers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad during these times while you were in prison?
Yes, well, after the period of quarantine was over, then we were assigned different jobs there in the institution. And after these jobs were done, then we would go back to our prison dormitory, and we would then set up classes. And these classes would consist of the recitation of the various lessons that we were given, plus mathematics, English, languages, and science and history.
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad was a model prisoner, respected by inmates and guards alike. He was made an orderly, in charge of the guards' quarters, and continued to teach salvation to his followers in the prison who were black in the Milan Federal Prison. From 1942 to 1946, our leaders served in prison, returning to Chicago in 1946, immediately taking up active leadership among his family and followers from whom he had been absent during the chase by hypocrites and imprisonment by his enemies. The Muslims bought an old animal hospital at 824 East 43rd Street. They cleaned it up and repaired it and began holding school and temple meetings in it. On the upper part of the building, where you see the iron pieces, they put the name in neon, Muhammad's Holy Temple of Islam, and the crescent. In July 1947, the Messenger opened at 3117 South Wentworth a grocery, bakery, and restaurant. The people were amazed. Here was a grocery store without pork. No black man had ever attempted to open a food establishment on such a high order. A clean place, no grease, or even the grease smell in your clothes after leaving. Pure ingredients, and the best in cooking and baking, and of course, fairly priced. Yet blacks were fearful and unpatronizing. His daughters, Ethel and Lottie, served as cooks and bakers, as their brothers pitched in as dishwashers, cleanup men, and delivery boys. Mr. Muhammad practiced what he preached, and his family loved, respected, obeyed, and followed his principles of being clean, hard-working, respectable, and fair. The Korean War breaks out. Again, the black man in America is called upon to give his life and blood for his former slave master with no regard for himself and his hellish condition of life in America. In 1952, the Messenger bought an old 19-room house in the Hyde Park area of Chicago. In this area, blacks were being placed on old, large homes that were converted into rooming houses and apartments. Mr. Muhammad put his sons to work, cleaning the house up and clearing the grounds of debris and filth around it. He successfully turned a slum into a showpiece of clean living, shaming the remaining whites of the area who began to immediately to fix, renovate, and remodel their homes in an effort to rebuild and restore the community to a high-quality standard as Mr. Muhammad had done to his home. During the 50s, the seeds that the Messenger had planted in New York, Hartford, and wherever he went throughout the United States began to germinate. Young people were accepting the teachings, and temples were being organized, and common people were being made great orators from the strength and power of the truth and the message taught to them by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Among them were Malcolm X, a convict whose correspondence and learning from the Messenger gave him such truths that his relaying of that message made him known by many, along with other ministers, such as Isaiah Kareem, Jeremiah Shabazz, Louis Farrakhan, Lucius Biar, Lonnie Shabazz, Theodore Hamza, and Abdul Karim. And he can do the same for any man or woman today if they would accept the truth of his teachings. In the latter half of the 50s, the Messenger assigned his son, Wallace D. Muhammad, to become minister and put him in charge of the temple in Philadelphia. The son who the Savior said would help him in his mission was now beginning to teach.
This the coming of God in the person of Master Farad Muhammad and teaching to you and me that he had such to us as is written. Yes, sir. Now he has found us. Now what must be done? We cannot sit down. We cannot lay down. Yes, sir. We must get up. Yes, sir. And go to work. Yes, sir.
Of 1954, the U.S. Supreme Court declares and rules segregation as illegal on a suit advanced by the NAACP. The black man of America remains the only people of any government who must petition for rights while stating to be citizens and denied the rights by white citizens of America. Mr. Muhammad had long ago declared the black man must remember that rights are different than authority, and this authority the white man was not granting to the black man to do for himself.
Blacks continue to ignore and reject the life-giving and life-saving teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. They despise the name black, think it derogatory, and would fight those who would call them black by name, institution, innuendo, or implication. They offer and subject their babies to beatings and killings at Little Rock High School and to other schools, claiming it was necessary for them to sit and to go to school alongside whites in order to use their black brains as the white man used his.
Mr. Muhammad did not weaken to the overwhelming ignorance of his black people, but rather cry and bemoan the fact that people rejected their true salvation. In December 1955, he and his followers purchased a Jewish synagogue and school at 5335 South Greenwood Avenue, where they continue to set an uplifting standard of education for the black man.